Hi, you guys.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi. Hello. Hi. Hello.
Oh no.
I need to be rebooted.
Yeah. Someone's stuck in a loop.
You guys, is it time for picks?
I could do picks.
Did you guys watch the Mitchells versus the Machines? It's a pretty good one.
I started it and I haven't finished it yet. I only got it 10 minutes in. But it's so far in 10 minutes, it's good.
It's about technology, like this show.
Really? Oh, yeah. Okay.
You really
That's pretty
tied it
good.
in there.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
That's all you've got to say? I don't even know. I know it's an animated movie on Netflix. That's correct?
Yeah, it's an
That's
animated
correct.
movie on Netflix. It's made by the same people who made Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse,
I do like
Oh, that's right.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
which I haven't seen. But
It's a shame. It's a great movie.
It really is.
but I really, it's really good. It's very compellingly told. They've got some great cameos, some great voice actors in general. My old friend Conan O'Brien's in it. He's not my friend, but it's fun.
Okay. All right.
It's good. It's clever. It's moving. It's sweet. I think you'll all love it.
We watched a movie from a couple years ago called Widows. Have you guys seen this?
No.
Very good. It is basically the premise of this movie is a crew of robbers dies on the job, and their wives are on the hook, and so are forced to do the job instead. But it's got a great cast. It's got Viola Davis and Michelle Rodriguez and
Oh,
Liam
yeah.
Neeson. And
I remember seeing the trailer for
It's
this. I never
very,
saw the
very
movie.
good.
The trailer looked great.
yeah, it's a lot. It's got some hard hitting stuff. Yeah, there's even the minor roles. It's like, oh, here's the guy who's running for like alderman in this local district of Chicago. It's Colin Farrell, and here's his dad, Robert Duvall, and it's like, Jesus, everybody's in this movie. But it's surprisingly, it's got some like great comedic moments, but it's surprisingly like dramatic and emotional. Like it actually it has a nice. There's a lot going on there. It's directed by Steve McQueen, who did 12 Years a Slave. So like it looks great. It's got some really fascinating like cinematographic work in it, like some beautiful shots. It's set in Chicago, like lot there. Special call out to Elizabeth Debicki, who's a British actress who's
Friend of
been
the
in
show.
friend of the show. Who's been in she was the villain in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. from a few years back. She was in The Night Manager.
Oh, spoiler.
That's not really a spoiler. She's amazing, and it's hilarious too because she's
I don't
probably
remember how that movie goes.
she's probably like 6'5". She's taller than me and Lex, I think.
Combined.
Combined?
Yes.
She's 12'11".
This is true. Sorry, she's 6'3", but you put her next to like Viola Davis, and it is comical how tiny Viola Davis is. Anyways, good movie. I recommend it highly. The best part was discovering.
I thought I was excited about my pick. Jesus, this is you were.
Yeah,
this
really.
was
We'll never
built
get
up.
to your pick.
This is a big
I don't
deal.
think we're ever going to get your pick.
Lex, if you're gonna do a pick, I mean,
You better come. I
Make it
understand.
make it worthwhile.
Do a freaking pick,
Like,
okay?
I don't want a wishy-washy fucking pick about like, nah, this movie was all right. No, I want a pick that you're excited about.
You are excited about it.
He's very excited.
I haven't heard you this excited since you talked about Command Line Heroes. But please
Let me-
continue.
That was just my first pick. I got more, but let's let John get a pick in. Stop talking so much, Lex. Jesus.
I'm
Wow,
sorry.
Jeez, man. Yeah. No, Lex, you go ahead.
You already gave a
I-
pick.
I
You
did.
literally
You're
started with a pick.
You're the one who wanted to do picks.
No, all I was commenting on with good humor was Dan really is into Widows. You said it was, and that's a movie.
Yeah.
A movie.
Were you not listening at
I'm
all?
kidding. Come on, it's good. But no, Dan was very excited. But no, Mitchell vs. Machine, I think is especially up the alley of anybody who likes tech and or kids. And it's it's a Sony, I guess, is the people behind it. And so
Yes.
when you're going to watch a Pixar movie, you know kind of what it's going to be like. And I think that Sony Animation has now gotten to that point because from the ones
Yeah.
that they've considered, there's kind of a similar visual style to them, and like there's I don't know, not a trope necessarily, but just a vibe. There's a vibe. It's really good. I give it my highest recommendations. How about that? I like it almost as much as Dan likes Widows.
I have heard nothing but good things about it.
And what about you,
And,
Moltzy? Do you have a pick?
I could have a pick if you like. It's not entertainment, and I know this is an entertainment podcast now.
Yes,
So I feel bad that it's not about entertainment. But I don't know if you've noticed, I've been making a lot of T-shirts. Some say I might have a problem, but I say I have a solution, and that is T-shirts. And I, to date, have just been using Pixelmator because that's something that I have, and I've been using it for a long time for different, picture related stuff. And it's not really the best tool for making T-shirts. So I was like, I should get a vector graphics application. And so I looked around a little bit, and I got Affinity Designer, which is on sale, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to mention it, is because it's, at least it was last week when I bought it. And it's like $10 for the iPad and $25 for the Mac, which is crazy cheap when you consider like all the stuff that's packed into it. So I have been having a lot of fun just like tooling around with it, and trying to go back and recreate some of the stuff that I had done before, except now with vector.
Now with vector
that make it a lot easier to actually manipulate after the fact when I say, actually, this should be this color instead of so this one's slightly off, I want to change this, and it's like, oh no, these are all pixels and they're all mushed together. So I have been enjoying it, and if you are looking for something, it's on sale right now, and so go get it.
I'm curious, for that price, do you both get direction and speed? It's a physics joke. Never mind. It's fine.
So I have some exciting information, which is that I am going to have to at least temporarily and possibly for the whole episode leave. I just found out. But before I do, Jesus. I bought a few minutes, and I would like to very quickly plow through some questions from listeners because they're in my inbox, and we can't ask them and answer them if I don't stay for that. So Jack Carlson wrote, "Oh no," and then sent a link to the news about the Peloton Tread Plus recall. It's fine, Jack. Don't worry. I'm keeping mine. It's all good. They're going to make a repair at some point. Mahir says, from the Apple versus Epic lawsuit discovery / evidence emails, did you see anything funny? And we already did that one. Oh, maybe we didn't do that one. But he said, did you see anything funny or interesting that caught your eye? I love seeing that Tim Cook uses the default signature sent from my iPad. I have thoroughly enjoyed those messages. I do look at all the screenshots and printouts of emails that they share. There are times when
Phil Schiller uses a lot of exclamation points.
Oh, yeah.
And there are times when I'll see people who, I don't know if they're still on Apple's PR team, but people who I know from Apple's PR team who are like, well, if that's what we're saying is the reason, why don't we just say it publicly for an app rejection? And they're like, the response is because it's a bullshit reason. So I appreciate that Apple doesn't want the press to be informed with bullshit things. That's nice.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to share on that front?
No, I feel like we covered it last week.
Yeah, we did talk a bunch about it last week.
Yeah.
And I don't think I picked up any new ones this week.
A listener now referring to themselves as Dan's mom says, here are some fancy transition examples. Between interlude and chapter 3 and between interlude and chapter 8, both have a direct reference to the last sentence in the previous chapter, but the story is in a different time. This was
this is a follow-up.
Remember who was talking about your chapter transitions in your books?
I mean, thank you. They asked how I did it, and the answer is I wrote them. I don't really know if I have a better answer for that. I don't know. They're flashback things that happen, and I key them. I don't know. I kind of imagine it like a TV show, right? Where like you see something triggers a flashback, and then you do like a match cut or something. The show Arrow that John and I watched for many, many years would frequently do this, right? Where it would like focus in on an object and then flash back to the past, like of a similar object or something there. It's like, it's just a technique. Yeah.
I really love that in the movie My Cousin Vinny. I don't remember the exact lines, but he'd be like, what kind of idiot would do that? And then cut to that idiot. I just
who doesn't like a good smash cut? A good smash cut is worth its weight in gold.
And then finally, Peter Nelson writes, phew, I subscribed before Prime Day 2021.
Woo!
Technically not a question, Peter, but we'll allow it. Good job. I have no other answer for you. If you want to be as good feeling about yourself as Peter is about himself, prime.reboundcast.com. Guys, don't forget to tell everybody about that podcast that we love so much later on. And if I can rejoin you, I will. And I'm sorry to abandon you now, but I must. Goodbye.
Wow.
So this is the last time we reschedule a show so that Lex can make it.
He was here for 10 minutes.
10 was it 10 minutes? Oh, he did just make 10 minutes.
Just about 10 minutes. Yeah. I guess that's better than
That's about right.
minutes, I
I
suppose.
feel like there's a maybe,
or is it?
should we like graph Lex's appearance on the show as time goes by, where it's like just I get the feeling like in the future it'll be like cameo appearance by Lex Friedman, like he wanders through for about 2 minutes and that's about it, or 30 seconds. Maybe he's just in the background of a shot.
Right. We talked about that before, and whether or not he's actually a host or
Special appearance by Lex Friedman.
Yeah.
I hope his lawyers have good contract.
Yeah. Well, I bet they do.
That's probably true. That's the only thing he's got going for him, really.
Knowing Lex and knowing his employment history, I bet that's
he's got good representation.
Foregone conclusion.
Thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Do you want to talk about some bad representation?
Oh, let's talk about bad representation. Let's do it.
Yeah, this guy that Apple just hired.
Oh yeah, what is with this? This is a weird choice. I double checked this.
This guy sounds awful.
I double checked this because I was like, okay, that can't be. It's just one guy tweeting it, and then I looked up the name of this fellow on LinkedIn, and sure enough, it says he's a product. I've forgotten now, product manager or something in the advertising group. But yes, there is a story. His name, I'm looking it up now. Antonio Garcia Martinez, who I guess used to work at Facebook, and I saw a headline saying somewhere like that is the least objectionable thing about him.
Exactly. Yeah. The big, well, I don't know if this is the big problem or not, but it is not great is this quote that's been floating around where he says, here's the reality, most people don't care about privacy.
Yeah.
And then come to find out he's also like a survivalist, bought a bunch of land up here in the Pacific Northwest and stocked it with guns and solar panels and stuff.
It's very strange because like some of this felt like I could have been.
Doesn't seem like a good fit.
Yeah, I mean, some of it when I first started like reading some of it was like, okay, maybe some of this is like performative almost, right? Where it's like I say those people we all know, the assholes we all know, who's like, I just like saying things that piss people off, right?
Right.
That would still not be great, but at least you get the feeling that like
he was only here for 10 minutes,
right? But you get the feeling maybe like this guy will toe the company line or whatever, right? When he's
true, right? I know, and that was my initial thought until I started
read more about him.
Like,
I don't know.
Oh no, this guy really seems horrible.
Yeah, I just don't know why you would go out of your way to hire this guy, either to recruit him, which seems ridiculous, or to not do the background, looking up of this guy if you're the person hiring him and he's applying to work at your company. So
yeah, and knowing Apple trying to project an image of caring about people's privacy, you'd think that they would at least do some vetting on things that he said publicly in the past and maybe not hire people who have said things that are completely antithetical to your message.
Yeah, I don't really know what happens now. Like that's the question is do you think Apple decides to do anything about this? Yeah, I think they just wait till it blows over.
I would imagine that they will keep him, hope it blows over, and then see what, I mean, it's possible they had a conversation with him like, did you really mean this? And he said, no, I just said it because I worked at Facebook.
Right. But they
hired Kevin Lynch. I mean, the guy was like, the guy ran Flash.
Sure.
And that seems to have worked out pretty well.
This guy only worked at Facebook. I think it says he left. I didn't think he was there that long. I'm trying to decide if that. I don't know if that. I don't think that interview he gave specifically talking about that. I think he had already left Facebook at that point.
I think that's right. Yeah,
because he's done a bunch of other stuff. I looked up his Wikipedia page, and he's written for a bunch of publications, and he's a tech entrepreneur, etc. I don't know. It seems, I don't know. It's a weird choice, but
here's another quote from him. From his book. He has a book out called Chaos Monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
Should I read it or just say that it's a bad quote?
We do primary sources here on the Rebound. Right. We're very. Yeah.
It says most women in the Bay Area are soft and weak, cosseted and naive despite their claims of worldliness, and generally full of shit. They have their self-regarding entitlement feminism and ceaselessly vaunt their independence, but the reality is Come the epidemic, plague, or foreign invasion, they'd become precisely the sort of useless baggage you'd trade for a box of shotgun shells or a jerry can of diesel.
Wow. All right. Well, that was way worse than I thought it was going to be.
So now I think they should fire him.
Yes. No, I'm with you. What the fuck? Yeah. What I mean,
I was okay with the quote about privacy. I was bothered by the, stockpiling guns and stuff. I think I'm out now.
I don't get it. It seems, again, yes, you're right, very antithetical to Apple's stated philosophies on a lot of things. Really exactly. A lot of things. Yeah. So, yeah, well, maybe that changes our opinion on how Apple handles that.
We will. I guess we'll see what happens here.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting to watch.
But it made a heck of a news cycle. So yeah, we'll see how long that persists. The other thing I saw going around, and I know Gruber linked to it, but obviously it was on Apple's PR site, was they're talking about all the great stuff Apple's done, all the great work they've done in protecting you from bad things in the App Store, which I thought was fascinating. As Gruber points out, there's no surprise in this showing up, and frankly, it is perfectly transparent that they're putting this out there while, the case with Epic is going on, so they can talk about how great all the work they do with the App Store is. But it does still showcase some interesting numbers about all the different things that they've tried to do, and sort of, I think for the first time, really puts figures on a lot of those. And I think there's no surprise in thinking that the App Store is a huge, attack surface, for Apple, right? That is a great opportunity for people to try and do fraudulent things or take advantage of customers, because it's a great way to interact directly with customers. And so there's no surprise that there's a lot of shit on there, and that they do a better job than I think a lot of people give them credit, right? Because we only see the stuff that makes it through, and that's bad, but it also, implies that it could be a lot worse. I'm not sure, whether this is something that ends up making their point or making the point against them. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, it does seem, it's... I don't know where to come down on this completely. They obviously are overinflating. They're at the very least, they are overinflating what it is they do.
Mm-hmm.
But also, there's a question of whether or not, there's a whole question as to whether or not they provide much of anything at all.
Right. And the question is, does it matter, right? If your answer is look, we only let this very small percentage through that are actually, malicious. And the answer is, yeah, but those still got through. And the answer is there's always going to be some, I think, the Gruber calls this the 5 nines problem, right? Where it's you're 99.999%, you get it, that much of it. But the problem is on the scale, because you have so much stuff on there, it's still a lot, right? And I think
it comes out, right. I mean, so, that developer who went around and found out all those examples of crappy apps, it seemed like an awful lot, but as a percentage of however many millions of apps there are, maybe not that much.
So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people seem to be of the opinion that Epic just can't win this case.
Yeah. Well, that's what it seems like. It seems like on the merits, at least, that Apple, and this is the interpretation of people who are smarter than me and have more legal degrees than I do, which would be any. So
I have one. It's from a cereal box.
It seems like the consensus amongst those people is that, that Epic really doesn't have a leg to stand on here. Also, that Epic is mostly doing this as kind of PR and possibly trying to grease the skids for some sort of
and air
action in Congress,
air Apple's dirty laundry, right? It's good.
Yeah, right.
It's it is definitely a Pyrrhic victory. I feel like in some ways, it's sort of we're gonna basically get everything out there in the public so that people can complain about how terrible Apple is about all these things. And maybe that either, I don't know if that'll backfire though, because I think if Apple wins this case, as it seems like they may, and basically walks away scot-free, does that just embolden Apple and be like, look, The courts upheld what we were doing, so we're just going to keep doing it.
Well, again, though, even if they walk away from this particular case scot-free, I think there's enough going on in Congress right now that they can't completely feel like that.
Sure. Yeah. The thing with Congress is always just like, how long does it take them to do anything? And can they? That's a different podcast.
Congress?
Yeah. My point is, why would you be too worried if you're like, yeah, they'll get around to it in 6 or 7 years?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know what you won't get around to in 6 or 7 years, John? What you'll get around to today, because I'm telling you that you need to do it right now.
Okay. Well, I'll write it down when you tell me.
Yeah, go listen to a podcast. I'm going to tell you which podcast. Not this one, but another one that's probably as good, if not, let's be frank, better. This episode of The Rebound is brought to you by Command Line Heroes. It's a podcast that tells the epic true tales of developers, programmers, hackers, geeks, and open source rebels who are revolutionizing the technology landscape. Season 7 of Command Line Heroes is available now, which explores the pivotal year of 1995. I remember it
so do I.
Like it was yesterday, John.
I know. It seems like not that long ago.
But it was the start of the dot-com boom, but a lot of things had to come together for the internet to succeed. Long before you could just hop on GoDaddy to grab a domain name, for example, there was a woman you actually had to call. Elizabeth Jake Feinler was the keeper of all domains. Episode 1 of the season features a conversation with the woman herself, now in her 90s, about how she managed the internet and how her team needed to create DNS, the domain name system. Plus, 1995 saw the launch of a brand new search engine that took the world by storm. It had a number of firsts: a fast and advanced web crawler, whole-page translation from a number of different languages back in English, and something called Flypaper. You might think that's Google. No, it's not Google. It's Alta Vista. You get to hear how it became the first search engine for the 21st century. Fun fact.
I knew that answer.
I was in high school in 1995, and I remember teaching. I was in a technology class, and my teacher asked me to present a class one day about how to effectively search using Alta Vista. And I taught them how to use operators, which you can still have in Google now, right? Where you can do plus, cite something. Yep. All that stuff started with Alta Vista. I remember showing people how to use it and find better search results. So that was the day. Anyways, I got a sneak preview of season 7 of Command Line Heroes. I listened to the episode about web design and how that started to come into the forefront of 1995. I know, right? Wild. And specifically about the website for the movie Batman Forever, which is often still held up to be lauded as this really impressive bit of web engineering, especially in the mid-90s, and one could easily argue way better than the movie. And so there's some great interviews with the folks who worked on that, and there are pioneers like Jeffrey Zeldman who talk about the experience of how they had to go around and actually create these things and learn how to build websites and do things that websites couldn't do because there was no Flash at that time. So figuring out how to do animations and stuff like that required all this digital trickery. Anyways, really cool episode. Check it out. Search for Command Line Heroes anywhere you listen to podcasts. We'll include a link in the show notes. And our thanks to Command Line Heroes for their support of The Rebound, so that Lex doesn't have to be here.
And no link to that show that I don't link to. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Yeah, that's because maybe if you put a link in the show notes.
Maybe
if you put a link in the show notes. When he's the villain in the upcoming Black Widow movie, you'll have to link to him. Sorry,
not really. I still don't have to.
Rules. Sorry, I don't make the rules. I just enforce them. The M1 iMac has started. There's benchmarks of those have started to show up, and apparently, this may shock you, John. They perform like M1 Macs.
That's weird. I was expecting something completely different.
Did not see that coming, let me tell you.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, so I guess they're no worse.
Science still works, I guess. Is that mathematics still works?
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Good.
Everything's still good.
Oh, we were talking online about this thing about Aukey.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You noticed that, right?
I did notice that.
What did you buy?
I bought a hub because I ran out of ports on my iMac. Right. And I was like, I'll just plug a USB-C hub in that has just USB-A ports on it. And I thought that seemed like a perfectly fine solution. And, it's a $12 little piece of plastic. But I ran into a problem today because I was going to be recording a show from outside of my house, which is a little scary. But I realized...
Out of your comfort zone.
I know. I realized that my travel mic, which is a Audio-Technica ATR 2100, which I've taken on me, all the trips I go on, I always take that when I'm recording a podcast. I realized that because I bought my M1, I no longer have a USB-A port on it. I was like, oh shit, I can't plug this in. So I was like, oh, but I have this hub. Can I plug my, USB-A port into that and then plug that into the computer? It's like it got power and it showed up in like as an audio device, but it would not receive any audio. Like if I, tried to open QuickTime Player and hit record, It just didn't record anything. And I was like, I have no idea what's going on. Well, I'll look up this. Maybe this is a known thing. I'll look it up on Amazon. And when I went to Amazon, looked it up in my order history, and it's like, oh yeah, this isn't on Amazon anymore. I'm like, what the fuck? I bought this like less than a month ago. And it turns out that Amazon has been sort of selectively pulling a bunch of the Aukey stuff. It sounds like in part because they're like trying to solicit reviews.
Yeah, I saw somebody had retweeted that, right? Like, if you provide a review for this, we'll give you $100 or something. Like
I think it was less than that. I think it was like 10, but was it 100?
Was it 10? That's why, because I thought, oh my god, 10. I mean, 100 is a lot.
Oh, there's some. You're right. There's one that it was. Maybe it depends on how like expensive a thing. Because like somebody was talking about reviewing a standing desk, and it had a note offering $100 for a quote honest review.
Yeah.
But there were others that had like $10 gift cards or something like that.
Okay.
But it may not. That may have been a different accessory maker.
Yeah.
Still, that's wild.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that they were cracking down on some of these, and ones that were putting up phony baloney reviews and stuff like that. But I didn't really expect it to be Aukey because I have a bunch of, nothing much, but I have like a bunch of adapters for USB-C to A adapters. And I'm sure I have a few other things, but I just can't think of what they are. And they've always worked fine.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything bad. So
it's like I don't know, like why do they need to do that?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's funny because like for a long time, I think like Anker was the brand that everybody went to and was like, oh, they're cheap and maybe slightly sketchy, but all their stuff seems to work okay. And then they became kind of pretty respectable and got a lot of their stuff like well rated and reviewed and stuff. So it's like all of a sudden a whole bunch of other businesses sort of got into it where they're like, oh, well, we'll be the cheap janky one now. Like,
yeah, right. Yeah.
Which I thought, and Aukey I think is probably towards the better end of that list. They seem to be pretty fine, but it's
that's why I didn't. I mean, I wouldn't have expected it from somebody who sold stuff that seemed to work fairly well and had a name that I recognize, that it feels like it is a name that most people who buy this stuff know. Right?
I think it's
like you can buy an Aukey thing and it's usually fine. It's not going to be a complete piece of garbage.
Do you think it's just a function of like, kind of back what we were talking about a minute ago with the App Store too, right? Where it's like just a function of online marketplaces, right? Where it's like,
yeah, right. I mean, I don't understand. I don't play in that pool, so I don't know what you need to do in order to compete there, obviously. And maybe they obviously felt like that was something that they needed to do.
Right. And it's weird too, because in so much of that case, like the stuff, it's because everybody expects, it's not quite the same problem as like, when you rode an Uber or a Lyft and it's like, well, you have to give your rider 5 stars because anything below 5 stars is terrible and they'll, not be able to feed their family and whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing similarly with App Store stuff. It's like, well, if it's not 5 stars, people aren't going to buy it. Hilariously, kind of linked in with this, I was in a mall for the first time this past weekend. And
I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too. I didn't even like going to the mall beforehand. But they had us. There is a store in there that is literally just Amazon sells stuff that's 4 stars or over. It's called like Amazon 4-star. And it's literally like a brick and mortar Amazon store where it's 4 stars. And my wife and I were talking about it. It was like, and we're like, why not just sell the 5-star thing? Why the 4-star things? That's weird.
Yeah, right.
But it's like
I guess that maybe there's like it seems like most everything. It's very. I don't find things that are completely 5 stars. You usually find stuff that are like 4.5. Yeah,
no, it's fair.
There's always somebody who's going to complain about things.
Right. But it was still funny to be like, what a weird thing to exist in the world. It's like a selection of things.
This was run by Amazon?
Yes, I must have been. There's no way anybody is making a store with
if that was the name, there's no way they could have put Amazon in the name,
Yeah,
right.
No, but it was so weird to see it in the store. And I also found myself despairing because at the same time I noticed that there was literally no there's no bookstore in
Oh,
this
yeah,
mall.
of
I was
course.
like, oh,
Yeah.
there's no bookstore, but there's a store that sells all the 4-star shit from Amazon. I'm just depressed.
No wonder.
now.
No wonder we have a problem here.
Yeah.
No wonder this country's such a mess.
This is, I think it illuminates the problem.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's such a weird thing.
I know. God, I can't remember the last time I was in a
I
mall.
don't recommend it.
No, well, that's the thing. I mean, I've never really liked going.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably not true. I'm sure there was a time when I did like going to the mall. You know,
I walked-
a long time ago.
I walked by the Apple store. I didn't go in, but they were allowing people in. I'm not sure if it was just people with like appointments, because I know they're doing a lot of even like shopping stuff. It requires sometimes you get appointments.
Yeah.
But I did see people in there, and there were like a few people waiting outside because they like metered, how many people they could have in the store at any given time.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
It's funny because like, my wife was doing some shopping, and I usually that would be a time where it's like, oh, I'll just go to the Apple store and like muck around with some of the stuff in there
Yeah,
for a bit. But I
no.
didn't really want to do that. So
Yeah. No.
instead I bought a shitty pretzel, and then I went outside and I ate it.
That was the responsible thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's just good sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too bad it was shitty.
Yeah, I mean, it's an Auntie Anne's pretzel. You know exactly what you're getting, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Sure.
And there was a time I liked those, but that time I was also probably a lot younger than I am now.
Yes. We're almost midway through May, right? And
Mm-hmm.
some of these things that we ordered are shipping in later in the month, right?
Right, because the iMacs have started to, I think they're not, if not shipping, they're preparing to ship right now.
Yeah,
and
right.
I've heard whispers that some of the reviewers, I think, may have them already, that they may be arriving.
Yes, I have heard that as well.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, it recently and very recently arrived, I believe.
Yep. So I'm interested to see how that pans out, although I think, as we just said with the benchmarking thing, nobody's expecting any bombshells in terms of performance, right? Like the performance is going to be great. We know how it's going to look, and it does seem as though it's easily outpacing the old iMacs. But, if you've seen an M1 benchmark...
56%?
Yeah, I think I heard that same, yeah. But if you've seen an M1 benchmark at this point, you've seen them all, because they're the same chip.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Which is interesting, because it's going to take some of the fun out of the whole benchmarking thing, I feel like, in the future, potentially.
Why is that?
Because it's there's no surprise, right? Like, it's like, oh, when a new generation of chip comes out, everyone's going to be like, yep, that's the chip. That chip's going to be in everything, and we know exactly how it will perform in pretty much every product.
Well, I mean, you could have technically done that with, I mean, I guess just the fact that they are more standardized now, rather than you'd get Macs with a variety of different Intel chips, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And the Intel stuff was
Yeah.
known, but it seemed like even though sometimes it varied from platform to platform, but maybe it's like,
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Right.
I mean, not say I'm not excited.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I am definitely. You ordered 27 remotes, is that right?
I did. Yeah, one for each room in every house that I've ever owned or lived in.
That you've ever been in before.
Yeah. Well, you lose them so easily, John. I decided it's best to just keep them wherever you might be.
Yeah. There's this thing where you have people that are 3D printing AirTag compatible TV remote cases.
I think that's funny.
Which is clever.
I think it's funny.
I mean, you solve some of the problem with that remote, but not all of the problem with that remote. Although but then the other one isn't findable either. It just happens to be bigger.
It does baffle me that they didn't think to add Find My support in there. Like, I gather it probably would have made it more expensive or something.
They must have considered it.
Yeah, I don't know.
They must have considered it.
I would think so.
And then decided it was too expensive.
Yeah, I guess that's the only thing I can come up with. I mean, like, not that it's
right.
Although I'm kind of surprised because it's got Bluetooth in it, so you could use at least some of the Find My stuff, I feel like, but maybe not the stuff that you need, right? Like, at the very least, there should be a way to make it beep, right? The very least, there should be a way to, like, you can, like, press a button and be like, start beeping so I can find you in the couch cushions. And I find it just utterly strange that they have not decided to do that, because I feel like that would not be, I mean, you got to put a speaker in it or whatever, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, how much is it? Like, I mean, you don't have to put like a good speaker in it.
No, not at all. No, you just need something that beeps.
Just a beep speaker.
If you can fit a speaker in an AirTag, you can fit a speaker in a remote
easily.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an Apple engineer, but
so. Exactly. No. Yeah. We just play them on TV.
Yep, that's right. Oh, actually, speaking of TV, goes back to our picks at the beginning, but we actually just started watching Mythic Quest, which I had not tried before. It's pretty good, I have to say.
How far in are you?
About 5 or 6 episodes in the first season.
Okay. All right. I need to try it again. I've tried it twice now and just hasn't stuck. But I
can understand why.
Episode 3.
It is definitely a certain brand of humor.
Right.
And I think it's not bad. Like, I was surprised in some ways because my wife tends to not like humor that's very awkward, and this definitely has part of that, but it's not, I didn't feel like it was quite as cringing as a lot of other stuff that I like does turn me off. And I think that what saves it is that even though some of the people are kind of awful, none of them are like terribly truly awful.
And
even the ones who are awful are not awful in ways that like are totally objectionable. Like the main character, the Rob McElhenney character, he's a gigantic egotist, but he's not. He's kind of like both really nice to people and also like really full of himself, which I think was kind of refreshing. It makes it work, like, because he's not a dick. He's just very obviously full of himself.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that, and I will say if you haven't gotten to at least there is a one-off episode that is not have any of the regular cast in it. That is, I think, episode 5, I want to say, which people have sort of held up a lot. That one's pretty great. But I like the show in general, and I thought it was pretty good. We'll probably keep watching this, and I think the second season of that just started.
Well, I'll try and get through episode 5.
Yeah, try again.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Keep
trying. You'll make it one of these days. I have faith in you, John.
I will load my save game and try again.
Excellent.
Yeah, you and I are going to be talking about Ted Lasso later.
That's right. We are. I rewatched.
I was watching. I was rewatching that episode in preparation for our discussion, and just started breezing into the next episode. It's like every time I turn that show on, like it just like sucks me in again. Like I want to watch it all. I want to watch it all again.
Yeah.
And then Karen came through. Karen came through. I was making dinner, and Karen came through, and she's like, "Let's watch that again."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, I'll stop now, and then we can watch it together.
Yeah, Kat came in while I was watching at lunch, and she's like, "Is this new Ted Lasso?" I was like, "No, I wouldn't watch new Ted Lasso without you. I'm not suicidal. I'm just rewatching for a podcast. I watched one episode for a podcast. She's giving me a death glare from across the office right now. It's unfortunate.
It could be a debilitating decision.
But yeah, it's a good. It's. I mean, people who are listening to this show do not need us to tell them that Ted Lasso is good.
Yeah. Another pick that I can give is which I probably mentioned on the show before, is Holy Moly, which came out last year, I guess. Yeah, that was because they were filmed before COVID, and I think it came out, like February of last year, something like that. And then they did a Holy Moly Australia, and sent Rob Riggle down to Australia and did basically the exact same show, but in Australia with Australians. And then the US version of the show is coming back, I believe, June 23rd. So,
okay.
My family is very excited because we love Holy Moly. So,
I have not seen that one, but I'll have
It's really dumb. It's really dumb.
Excellent.
It's really dumb, but it's dumb. It's dumb fun. If you don't know the premise, the premise is extreme mini golf.
I do like mini golf. I do like mini golf. That's good. All right.
And there's a lot of, like the windmills are like 2 stories high, and and you have to dive through the blades.
Oh man. Okay.
And so people are getting whacked by the blade. They're not sharpened or anything. They're padded. But
oh well.
People get whacked by the blades and go flying.
If there's no blades on this or pools of lava, then come on, how extreme can you be, really?
And Rob Riggle, of course, is hilarious.
He just showed up in a guest bit in a show I watched called The Unicorn, which is a sitcom with Walton Goggins in it. And he showed up as a developer in a couple of the last episodes of the season this year, which was pretty good. Yeah, good show. I'm excited because the second part of the first season of Lupin comes out. They just announced in June. I think right around the time Loki starts. But if you haven't watched that on Netflix, it's a really great.
I watched the first episode of that and I liked it.
It's very good.
The problem with it is I want to watch it in French.
Yep.
and I can't do that and cook dinner at the same time.
Yeah, that is an issue. It's sad because every time I watch the trailers, they're in the dub, and I'm like, these characters don't sound right. I don't like the American voices.
Yeah, I watched the first one as I was making dinner in dubbed in English, and so my enjoyment was lessened by that.
Yes,
but I think it seems like a good show.
Highly recommend it. Subtitled, it's fantastic. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that coming in June. This show entirely about TV. So everything. Now. That's what we do.
Everything that we want is coming soon.
That's right. Coming soon in June. Not to rhyme, but there you go.
We'll probably have to use that as the title because Lex isn't around.